Yo, what is up guys, it's Aqsept here. Today we're going to be doing something a bit different. I'm bringing you guys a broad breakdown between SK Gaming and Fnatic. The only thing, spoiler ahead, that I've seen from the game is that Fnatic 2-0'd. I haven't seen the actual games, I haven't seen the drafts, but it's something I want to do. If you don't know who I am, I have coached in high-level teams before, in semi-professional teams, in ERL 1 or professional teams as well. Yeah, and if you don't know what ERLs are, it's basically the level under LEC, so let's take a look at it. So first of all, for the bans, right? So generally, how you look at the bans is that the red side bans are often going to be bans that are prior picks, right, for enemy team. So B1 picks, right? And the blue side bans have a bit more options, right? So they are allowed to target ban a bit more if they want to. This is the general idea, because red side, in general, doesn't want to give over the OP champions, and the blue side has the option, okay, we can decide what we want to do, but we can get a few champions out there that we don't want to face, right? So what we see here is Ironman first from SK. General really strong champion. It's also something Razork has been playing. We see Vi ban. Vi is a champion that is not very strong on her own, but she's very good into what's currently meta in terms of carries, and she's also very good with what's currently meta, right? So therefore Vi is a prio. There's generally 3 criteria that sum up if a champion is a prior pick or not. Criteria number 1 is if that said champion is very OP. And then it's generally, okay, are they strong against it? And then, okay, are they really strong with said champion, right? It's one of these 3 criteria that really have to be upheld. And then if a champion is B1able or not is based on these 3 as well, and also how flexible the champion is, right? So in general, a champion like, let's say, Varus or Ashe, something like that can go both ADC or support. It's going to be quite flexible. We see a Seer ban here. It's a humanoid target ban, mainly more than anything. On Fnatic side, we see Rumble getting banned. Rumble is probably the most OP champion on this patch. And then we see Lucian ban. Now, Lucian ban is a bit weird because it's not really a prior champion at the moment, but I assume they're probably planning to pick something that is generally good for Lucian to pick into. So, for example, maybe the Kai'Sa, maybe the Jinx, something similar. Either way, Fnatic end up banning the Nard. This is just an irrelevant, what's it called? An irrelevant comfort pick. And we see Sejuani first pick. Sejuani first pick is something we've been seeing in a lot of tournaments lately. Especially in the LCK, we've been seeing it a bit. The only thing that I do not like about Sejuani first pick is that, in general, I still think AP junglers very strong. Syra really strong. Brand really strong. These kind of junglers are very strong, Nidalee as well. And then AD mids for that reason are also very strong. So Tristana, Corki, right? And the thing with Sejuani that doesn't work with that, right, is that, well, it kind of screws up the entire thing. And Sejuani, Maokai, these kind of champions, they are very weak into Syra, Brand, etc. That's the only thing I don't like. Lilia as well, Karthus as well, right? So in general here, what I would expect from a Fnatic to respond with is probably the Tristana themselves, and then potentially either the Jinx or the Kai'Sa like we talked about. Probably the Kai'Sa. Jinx is at as meta right now since they banned the Lucian. Yeah, they go for the Kai'Sa. Alright, and then we see here Renekton pick and Taliyah pick. So something I would have liked to see here from SK potentially is keep the Sejuani flex open. This is one good thing with Sejuani as a champion right now, is that he can easily go top lane. Not many people are playing it, but it is still a strong pick, right? So you could send the Sejuani top lane potentially, pick something else jungle if you want to, like, I don't know, Lilia or Viego or something like this, and pick another mid laner after that, right? What I don't like about this is that we've revealed our entire top side in a sense, right? Because now I don't think we have a strong mid lane matchup in a sense, like it's mainly, if anything, at best neutralizing to Tristana. Now we are having to rely on playing through the top side matchup right now, right? Because what will happen here is Fnatic will probably pick an engage support, I would imagine. And based off this, like, or I guess they could pick something weak side top lane if they really feel like they don't have many options because they banned the Gnar. But I would like to see a Rell or a Nautilus here, probably, maybe a Leona, or at least see it come in on free. And then, yeah, in general, I think Fnatic are sitting quite solid in this draft. So they end up picking the Ornn. They don't feel like they have many options in top lane outside of the Ornn. Ornn is a solid pick here. They banned the Seri. I would probably ban engage supports if I was Fnatic here, but alright. Ban the Ezreal, Nautilus ban. I think it's just going to be a Rell pick. Oh no, it's going to be a Syra pick. I don't love this. I mean, I love the Syra. That's not what I'm trying to say. The Syra is really good. I just think there are, in my opinion, there are 3 roles right now that are very OP. Right? One is, I think, a lot of AP junglers are very OP, right? So you want to be picking these early. So for example, okay, Syra does fit into this category, fair enough, right? AP junglers, very OP. Then we have AD mids are very OP because of this. Corki, Tristana, especially, right? And then number 3, it's engage supports, right? Rel, really OP, Leona, really OP, Nautilus, really OP. All 3 of these are extremely good. Also, Alistar is really good, but he's not as good as those 3, I think. And he's a bit more situational. But I like the Syra in general. But in general, what we would see in a lot of leagues is that people don't prioritize picking ADC. People do not prioritize picking top lane for these reasons, right? Because there are more general options in these 2 roles that are not OP, except for the Rumble, maybe. Alright, and so for SK here, I mean, they end up locking the Syra Khan. I don't love the Syra Khan. I think it's alright. I will say this, the Syra Khan is fine into the Kai'Sa. I think you can win lane if you play aggressive. But I think outside of that, Syra Khan really struggles in this game, right? Because now you're relying on Sejuani ult as sole engage, which is one thing, not very nice, right? Rakan is a bit worse than the other supports right now. They're picking it mainly because into Kai'Sa, and Kai'Sa generally want to play dive. But Kai'Sa could easily opt into a poke-like build here, right? On 3 items, Kai'Sa will just destroy them in poke, right? And you have Syra to counteract the engage. You have Tristana that DPSs for you. And then it's like, if you ever do manage to poke them down, I think Ornn does a great job, right? In general, this is the idea. So I don't love this. I don't love this Syra comp pick. I think they struggle into a lot of range. They struggle into zone control. I think Kai'Sa and Syra have a field game here. I don't mind the Alistar. I think the Alistar can work fine, if that's what they end up going for. Yeah, they end up going the Alistar. I think this is alright. I would say, personally, I think Fnatic wins this draft. The reason why they ban Ezreal is a bit unclear to me, for example, because I think Kai'Sa is very good into Ezreal, and I don't think Ezreal is like that insane into enemy comp when they have like Ornn, etc. But Ezreal is a very strong champion at the moment, so I guess that's why. But in general, I do not like how the top side of SK looks here. In general, I think they struggle later on in the game if they do not manage to snowball through either bot lane or top lane, and I don't think it's that easy to snowball through either one, right? And I think Syra takes over this game. Now, as I said, I don't know anything outside of the scoreline, so let's maybe quickly look out of curiosity, kind of how the game goes. The game ends up being a bit close. Here we can see on 3 items, Kai'Sa is super strong with her like semi-poke build, and the Syra is quite far ahead as well, and the Tristana has just been given a lot of space on the map, so yeah. Alright, let's check out the second draft. Oh my god, why is there sound on this? Okay, let's check out the second draft, yeah? Alright, now we got spoiled a bit, but that's alright. Alright, so SK changed a few things up. Number 1, they banned the Corki instead of the Azir. So that's step number 1. And generally, when we see a Corki ban, it means they want to take either, like, or if you see a Tristana ban as well, it means you want to take the, like, one of them, but not the other, right? So the Tristana is just so that, or the Corki ban is just so you can take Tristana, and now enemy does not have a counter pick generally, right? Now, there's a few things that are open because of this. For example, the Azir is open now. You could go something like the Yone. Or you could just go something otherwise neutralizing. You could go with the Taliyah like SK did last game, but I don't like it too much. You could go something with the Syndra, the Ahri, but these aren't that great either, right? In general, it's probably going to be a Seer, or it's going to be a Yone, I would imagine, if you want an AD option. Alright, but I believe Fnatic probably here will prioritize going Sejuani, because Sejuani is the main prio pick right now in the meta, and I think, considering the Lucian ban, they might prioritize taking the Kai'Sa again, unless they go for mid lane. Yeah, so we go Sejuani, we're hovering Zed, we end up going Kai'Sa. We saw what the picks were here, or I saw what the picks were here when we accidentally scrolled over them, so it's Renekton Nidalee. Generally with Renekton Nidalee is that a similar thing to last game, we have to snowball super hard for topside, right? We are now super locked. I do like this a bit more, because now you have a pure, like, prio mid lane, right? That can control the game with you, right? So we have the option of permanently going invading, right? So that's very strong in general. We do have a Taliyah lock-in here, which, as I said, I don't really like, but it is a pick that people do like playing into Tristana. I just think you're giving up a lot of pressure in it, because at best you neutralize the enemy prio, and on side lane later on you will struggle. Alright, and I think Fnatic is probably just going to end up banning ADCs again, so they ban the Seri, they might end up banning the Ezreal again as well. Yeah, and on the side of SK, we ban the Poppy. Generally, Poppy into Nidalee, Renekton, Tristana is quite decent. And they might look to pick Rakan again, for example, right? And then they don't want to be facing the Poppy. The Benk is Santa as well. This is a good weak side option for Fnatic right now. I would probably, if I'm Fnatic, probably go for the Jax, which is what we're hovering here. You could go for the Ornn, is one example, or one thing you could do, because it's generally same thing as the game before, quite neutralizing into these two. The difference is that this game you have the Sejuani. And with the Sejuani, you want to pick champions that can hit for her immediately, right? Because then you can actually win 2v2s. Even if it's Renekton, Nidalee, etc. Like, the one good thing that counters Renekton in general is champions like Jax in the isolation, and then Sejuani as well, right? Because you will always win the 2v2 here. You could go something like the Aatrox, but the matchup is a lot worse. Yeah, and you could otherwise, if you really want to do a range champion, because those are usually good into Renekton, but it's worse with Sejuani. So they're gonna go the Jax, I like it. And SK here is probably, well, I was gonna say they probably go the Rakan again, or if they have swapped something up, we'll see. But they decide to go the Azir, which I don't really like. I think the Azir is a weak pick here. So generally they send the Tristana into bot lane to match into the Kai'Sa. This might be something they have prepared in case enemy goes Kai'Sa. The last game they did not get the Tristana, but this game they decided to first pick it, which makes sense why they diverted from, okay, Tristana, one of the most OP champions on the patch, from being not that high prior for them to being high prior, right? Because they maybe understood, okay, they will go the Kai'Sa again, so we want to send Kai'Sa or Tristana bot lane. But Tristana bot lane for me is a bit of a cheese pick. That's the only thing that I'm scared of, right? I would never pick the Alistar here, if that's what they're going to lock in. I prefer something that has a bit better setup. The thing is with Alistar is that without flash, this champion does not reach, right? And he's playing into Talia, for example, right? He's playing into Sejuani, and he's also blind picking, which means that enemy could go something, well, like Fresh, for example, or anything that neutralizes the Alistar a bit. Renata, Braum, these kind of champions, right? And if you go anything like this, I think you're very unhappy playing Alistar in this game. I prefer something like Leona, because then you get solid engage from range, right? I prefer the Nautilus, same reason, right? You can use press ult and you have guaranteed setup. And you need setup this game with Nidalee, with Tristana bot lane, with Renekton, etc., right? You need something that can start a fight. Alistar is not something that can reliably start a fight without flash. They end up going the Alistar. I don't love it. Rakan hover here. I think the Rakan can be fine. In general, it bullies Alistar a bit in lane. I think it's quite safe versus the Tristana. So I don't hate the Rakan here if they end up going for it. Otherwise, I think something that can be really good here is, for example, the Galio. Very good in isolation. But this is something most teams, if any team, will not have prepared. I think the Renata can be very solid, but you're playing with Kai'Sa, which is like the issue, right? Usually Kai'Sa wants to be paired up with engage supports. Otherwise, I think still just going something like the Leona or the Braum or the Nautilus, even though it's not the greatest into Alistar, can be fine, but I think the Rakan works here. There's no super insane pick, and I think in general, I think I prefer this SK draft, but what I do not like about it is the fact that we went Azir. I think if we go Tristana mid here, we have something that can control the game through mid lane with the Nidalee. I think this draft makes much more sense. You just pick whatever you want in bot lane, and I think you're chilling. But I think if you're going to go Tristana bot lane, you might as well go Draven. That's my take, at least. I think this looks very weak. I don't love it that much. And so I think probably what's going to end up happening is that Humanoid is going to get prio most of the game. We're going to lose top lane 2v2. And this Nidalee is going to struggle, because the only lane she then has to play through is bot lane, but she doesn't really have a bot lane to play through because, well, Talia will perma get prio, and Sejuani can just go bot lane whenever she wants and give her tempo for it. So let's see a bit what happens, though. The game seems to be very slow in the early game. Fnatic is not known for slow games in general. But here, it seems like the game has started a bit again. Oscarina has been bullied a bit, to be fair. Oh, and then we had a huge jump here. No, but in general, it's like, it doesn't seem like they were able to snowball for bot lane. It does seem like Humanoid had a bit of a lead in the early game. And yeah, Razork is a bit behind, which is bound to happen, right? But that's something you account for when you play a champion like Sejuani into a champion like Nidalee that is going to tempo ahead of you. So in general, I like the simplicity more of the Fnatic drops. I think they have a clear way to play. I think SK have overcomplicated drops by picking things like Azir. And for example, in the game 1 as well, I think I don't like the Talia into the Tristana, as I said. But I do think the Talia into Azir is fine. So I think they kind of cook themselves. But I think Fnatic in general ended up with a lot of matchups they're happy playing. So here we see that Fnatic ended up 2-0ing. In general, if you want to see something similar in the future, draft breakdowns, I'm very happy to do so. As I said, I was head coach for NSC teams in the past, or ERL1 teams, rather. as well, which is basically the level under LEC. If you want to hear more, if you want to see general draft takes on how to draft, etc., I'm very happy to do so. Just leave feedback in the comments and I'll respond to it as always. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this one. I'll see you later.